you basically started with very little and you grew it to about $1 million in revenue.
That was correct. I had about $2,000 that I kind of had and slash put on credit card, and I had built a rig. I had built a pressure washer that was functional, and I used that rig for almost a year and a half before I blew up my van. And from there, I grew the business to $1 million, and we sold it in 18.
So what's up, guys? I'm here with Jason Geiman today. Jason, also known as the king of pressure washing, is the owner of Pressure Wash Help, and he's one of the most notable and helpful guys in the industry. He's been a blessing to many people, so it's really an honor to have him on today. Jason, first thing I'd like to get into, if you don't mind telling me a bit about your story, how you originally started your business and got to where you are now.
So how I got to where I am now, that's a great question. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it very much. And so I was one, like many of you, I was poor and broke, and I was a full-time fireman, so you really know I was broke. And when I was at the firehouse, I was sitting back, and as we do at the firehouse, we pop our feet up on the recliners and we are waiting for the next call. One of my friends at the firehouse is like, man, I'm going to start me a pressure washing business. And I'm like, that's the dumbest thing ever, because in my mind, pressure washing I'm also a diesel mechanic by trade, of cleaning and nasty and cleaning heavy equipment and the big equipment. And man, you just come out, you were completely black, nasty, grease, and you dig grease out of your ears for weeks on end. And so I was like, all right, I'm going to see what this pressure washing thing might be. So I got online, and this was back in the days before Facebook and all the stuff, YouTube and a lot of the free stuff that was out there. And there was these things called forums. I know it's some of you young people might not know what they are, but they were called forums. And so on the forums, they were a lot like the Facebook groups, but even worse. Like, you didn't get no information. You really had to dig and dig and dig. And so I was like, you know what? This could be something that I could do. So I didn't go out and buy brand new equipment. I had about $2,000 that I kind of had and slash put on credit card, and I had built a rig. I had built a pressure washer. I bought a used trailer, and I wheeled and dealed, and I was able to have a pressure washing rig that was functional. And I used that rig for almost a year and a half before I blew up my van that I had on it. And so with that is kind of how Jason got started. And from there, so in 2012, 13 is when I started. And then in 2017, 18, I grew the business to $1 million, and we sold it in 18. So that is kind of the story in a nutshell.
That's amazing. So, you basically started with very little, which today a lot of people are in that same exact position, and you grew it to, you're grossing about $1 million in revenue by 2018, right?
That was correct. And then, so 2018, it actually went down a little bit because that was the part of the sale of the business. And then I was actually still doing the marketing and being safety for that new company because I had to be around for the next year. And we did a little over like 1.1 million the next year in 2019. So it kept growing even after we sold the business. And even till to this day, they actually have bought other businesses in the greater Cincinnati area. And so now that business is doing almost 2 million to 2.5 million every year just in pressure washing business.
Wow, that's awesome. One of the biggest questions I had after kind of, learning a bit more about you and your story was how you grew it in about 5 years. You grew it to 1 million per year in gross revenue, and then you decided to sell it. I was curious, why did you want to get out of the business?
Well, you know what they say about partnerships are not always the best thing. And that's pretty much what happened in the partnership is the other partner wanted out. And so I wasn't able to buy the business off of it. So we ended up ending the business at that point, is how that ended and the reason why it did. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
And, the thing about growing a business, it's like anything, right? It wasn't easy in the beginning. I tease people about being the $99 guy, but I was literally the $99 guy even back then. It wasn't that I charged $99, is because I didn't know how to do marketing, right? And as growing a business, we all know that marketing is the number one thing that grows a business. It's not equipment. It's not being the best salesman. It's about marketing and how you grow your business. And so how I was a $99, there was a thing called Groupon that you would charge $200. They got $100 and you got $100. So that's kind of how I started off, because I didn't understand marketing when I first started this business. I didn't understand how to get customers. It was trial and error at the end of the day. Was there people back in the day? The big one that was probably my number one mentor was Michael Crisley, which we ended up buying his business later on. And through that, he taught me a lot of things that I learned through Michael Crisley. He's kind of the goat of pressure washing, and he was more always about marketing and how to get his business out there. And so, what I always tell people is do the things that you can do. If you're on a budget, don't go buy $20,000 worth of equipment, because equipment's not going to do it. Go buy you $300 worth of yard signs. Go out there and start hitting the free stuff that you can do. Facebook. I always used to say, Google my business. And yes, we can still do Google my business, but Google my business has gotten hard. It's not just like the old days where you would just tell them and you would write in and you would get a validation code and, hey, you can start working on your Google My Business. You can do that now, and it's going to get suspended about 2 days later once you do it. And so, there's things now that for even Google My Business, you have to have done so that way they know that you're a business. So the free things that you can do, right? Go out there, I sucked at video when I first started. I wouldn't show my face. I didn't want to show my employees. But I learned over years that that's what people want to buy. People buy you, right? People buy their time back. That's what they're buying. They're not buying that the wall's dirty. They're buying so they don't have to go out there and do it. So these are some things that you have to think about as we're growing and even as we're starting. Not just, some people think that, and we sometimes we get lucky and you might hit a $10,000 job, right? But and then we focus on that $10,000 job. And what I always tell people is it's not about that $10,000 job. It's the next $10,000 job, the next $100,000 job, right? How much is a picture worth? Well, if you didn't take a picture, the picture's worth $0. If we took 25 pictures of that one job, now we got marketing that we can show on Facebook and all these other things, whether it's a $10,000 job or a $200 driveway cleaning, right? We can show pictures of this driveway cleaning all week long, all month long, all year long. But if we never took that picture, we can't show those pictures at all. And then it's worth nothing.
For sure. I mean, the world we know is shifting. Previously, people would, just go to the most professional company or whoever comes in at the best price. But nowadays, people like to buy from people. So if there's no face behind the business, if you're not putting out content, then they'll go to the next guy who they can actually trust and see that there's a real person behind it. And so many people, I feel like, are just scared to make mistakes that they won't even go out and try it out. Like they won't go take the pictures because they don't know how to put content together. They won't go invest in yard signs. They're not sure if they're going to place it right. They won't door knock, but they're scared that, someone will close the door on them. But the thing is, like, you're not going to start seeing success until you fail first.
So you hit on two perfect points, right? The number one is perfection is the number one business killer out there, right? Because you will never be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. You're never going to be perfect. This podcast isn't going to be perfect. We might think it's perfect as of right now, but a month from now, we're going to look back at this and be like, man, we could have did better here. We could have did better there, right? Perfection is the number one business killer. I see it so many times. People are so worried. Is this logo just perfect? And they'll spend 6 months on trying to get this logo and not do anything else because they're so focused on this one thing that it's not going to be perfect. You probably are going to change that logo in a year or two. You're probably not even going to worry about, a logo means nothing. Perfection is the number one business killer out there. It doesn't matter what business you're in. It don't matter if you're in anything. It's never going to be perfect. So, done is better than perfect. And so done, we can learn by our failures that we learned from getting it done. John Maxwell always, his number one thing is fail fast. The faster you fail, the faster you learn. And you can learn off your failures. And so failures are, whether it could be your marketing, failures could be how you screwed up something. I have a course that I teach people how to pressure wash. And you know what my course is all made up of? Of things that I've failed and things that I've screwed up. Have I killed fish? Yep, I've killed fish. Have I screwed up siding? Yep, I screwed up siding. Have I broke windows because I didn't put the nozzle in the gun? Yep, I broke windows because I didn't do that. Have I striped up and did tiger stripes? Yep. Did I put a sealer on a driveway that I shouldn't, and it cost me $2,000 to get it fixed? Yep, I've done all of it, right? And so I teach personally off of personal stuff that I've actually done and stuff that I've learned away. But those are all my failures that I'm helping you so you don't fail on those things. And so the biggest thing is people are so scared that they're going to fail. You know, are you going to kill a bush or a flower? Yeah, I guarantee, I don't care how much you try to protect stuff, you will kill something. It will happen. You'll get sloppy, you'll get whatever, and you will kill it. And so people worry so much that they won't ever take action, you know? And so fear is the number one thing that can hold you back. And the fear of failure is definitely the number one thing that can hold you back. But you know what? You can either be afraid of it or go and do it and see what happens. And you'll be shocked that when you go and do it, it's amazing. You'll learn all kinds of things from your failure. You know, I had a guy that he wanted to bid this big job, and there was another YouTube guru that told him not to go bid that job. And I'm like, go bid the job. What's the worst you're going to do? You're going to overcharge and you're going to get it, right? Or you might undercharge and you're going to learn something, but you're going to learn how to get permits. You're going to learn how to get a lift. You're going to learn how to quote stuff. You're going to learn, you're going to meet people that you never know could be in that next position. And this is why, you know, you want to do things that might be out of your comfort zone. You know, if I only did things that were in my comfort zone, I wouldn't be on this podcast right now, because I know you're going to ask me questions that I got to come up with an answer. And if I was scared to death of fear, if I was going to screw up, I wouldn't be here right now. So the biggest thing is taking action and making things happen. You know, momentum moving forward is the thing that keeps your business growing. One little baby step at a time. And once you get going, those steps get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you'll be like, I can conquer the world. And you know what? You can conquer the world. You're an amazing human being, and you can conquer the world at the end of the day.
That was very well said. I know, like in my own life, even in my own business, in the very beginning, like the very early stages, I moved so slowly because I didn't want to mess up here or there. Like, I just want to do everything perfectly. And then I had some people that come into my life that I'm blessed they did, but they told me, like, you're doing it all wrong. Like, you should be wanting to fail because you're going to learn from that. And then next time you won't fail, you might fail in something else, but you'll fix what you did wrong earlier. So then when I realized that shift in mindset, that's when I learned the most in my life. I grew the quickest, like everything changed for me. And it's the same exact thing here in pressure washing. Like, people, they won't go out and knock doors because they're scared of being turned away. But in reality, if you shift your mindset and realize, no, I know every 20 people I speak to, 19 people kick me out, but one person says yes, then I just need to speak with, 60 people a day. I'm getting 3 jobs a day. Once you shift your mindset and realize that, then I feel like everything will change for these people that are kind of in the early stages, just getting started.
And that goes back to mindset, right? Getting out of the mindset of either broke mindset. That's what a lot of people deal with, is a broke mindset. Well, I would never pay that. But mindset is 90% of this job, right? Getting into the right mindset, getting into a plentiful mindset, not a scarce mindset. Well, I got all these competitors. Who cares about your competitors? Well, they got bigger marketing budgets and they might have that, but what do you have that they don't? Don't be focusing on other people's, focus on yourself. What can you change in your mindset to help you grow? Poor mindset is probably the biggest thing. There's so much out there. If you're making $20 an hour, and you might not understand what the mindset of that customer that's making $100,000 a year. Right? Because they understand that time is valuable, because they can go work and make $100,000 a year, but they don't have the time, and they understand time is such a valuable thing that's what you're charging for, is to give them time. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter. I kind of had this epiphany today of why do people think that, marketing companies and different things so bad, especially in the groups or coaches or any of this stuff. And it's like, because they have the mindset that they can do it all. And it's good to know a lot of everything, but you're not going to be a specialty in everything. I see these broke people in Facebook groups that help other broke people. And they're like, I would never pay for this. Well, that's the dumbest thing out there, and I get it. There's some marketing companies that sell snake oil and there's some that are great, and you kind of got to figure out which one that you want to go with. Who do you like, know, and trust that you can buy from them, right? Just like you are giving a lot of information now, you're helping people, whether you get business or not. And that's the important part. As I was thinking about this today, I was like, a lot of these people that say coaches are stupid, why do you think you have coaches in school? And then why do you think professional athletes have coaches? If they're so good, Michael Jordan had like 4 or 5 coaches. If he was so good, why does he need coaches for? Because he needs to get better. He needs to get to the better spot. And a lot of times that coach can look at you and say, this is where you're failing at, and you need to work on it. And you know what? That coach, he may never played basketball in his life, right? But he may be an amazing coach. And so these are some things to think about when we're thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Even in our own company, most people join our program just because they want the leads. That's all they care about. They think that's all they need, when in reality, they don't have a good sales process. Their pricing strategy isn't optimal. There's so many other parts of their business that's lagging. So then we get them in on the lead generation, but then we push the coaching out as much as possible. And then they realize like, wow, like a lot of these guys, not that we work with, but a lot of people in this industry in general might have an ego and think they don't need a coach, or they don't need someone else to like tell them what to do. They'll handle it on their own, and they're really limiting their growth because of that. But if you kind of, push ego aside and realize, this person, they might know something that I don't. And if I just learn that one thing, that might help me, grow this X much more. So I think that's a big issue in this industry, is just the fact that people aren't really open to the coaching. But once you let it in and actually understand, like, this person might know something I don't, if they, if I'm open to it, I might actually be able to learn from it. Once you do, you're just going to grow that much quicker.
It kind of goes back to what we was saying there too, of, just because you need leads, you're right. They think that they need leads. And like I've said before, whether it's Christmas lights or pressure washing, I could give you 100 leads. And if you don't know how to close them, if you don't, first off, because I've been in this boat of, if you don't answer your phone, right? I've done some lead generation for people, and it's like, and then I track their phone numbers, and they don't even answer half the phones, right? And then you blame me, and then you're calling me and saying, Jason, you're not giving me no jobs. Joe, you're not getting you're not answering your phone. And when you do answer your phone, you sound like an idiot. One of the phone calls was, hello, like nothing. And it's like, I can't help you if you don't know how to answer the phone, if you don't know all the other systems that go along with getting leads, right? Getting leads is one thing. All the other things is what makes you and closes your business, right? And, the big kick that I've been on here lately is it's all about customer service. And if you don't answer your phone, that's the very first thing of customer service, then you might as well just hang it up, because you're going to have a rough time in this business if you don't answer your phone. And you know what? You might be on the ladder. You might be on then pay somebody to answer the phone, because you never know how much. A lot of people don't understand too is how much does that missed phone call cost? If you don't, first off, know your numbers, you don't know that, hey, my average ticket right now is $500 and I'm at a 50% close rate. Okay, that's great. So every phone call you miss, every 2 phone calls you miss, that's $500 you just let go down the drain. So that's how important it is to make sure that you keep answering that phone.
Yeah. And there's a lot that I want to say regarding that, but just a funny story, something that we've actually done, because we always notice this. Like we push the fact that you need to answer your phones, or they're just going to call the next company. You're going to miss out on them. We try so hard to push this, but some people, they just don't listen. But we actually implemented a secret shopper. Basically, a team member of ours would call our clients and then see who was answering, who wasn't answering, how quick they would take to get back. And it was actually really helpful, because now we could be in the shoes of the customer. And like, if you don't answer, if you don't get back to us, then we're going to go on to the next company. And once we can kind of show them that, they realize like, damn, exactly what you said. Like for every 2 calls, I might be missing out on $500. What is that costing me in a month? What does that cost me in a year, the next 5 years? And it's a lot of money. Once you paint that picture to them, they realize how important it is.
How many Google reviews, how many referrals, how many returning customers, right? That's
Exactly.
not just the $500. That's just the $500 right now. That's not the income of all the other stuff that you're missing out on also.
Yeah. And even when we bring in leads and they convert them into customers, great. But that's not the end of it. You know, they get a customer on the front end, but now, you know, they're going to do work with you next year, as long as you do good job with that relationship and retaining them. But they'll refer people, they'll leave you a review, and you can even, you know, speak with their neighbors and get X amount of jobs from it. So in reality, that one $500 job can turn into tens of thousands of dollars over the course of the next few years if you leverage it properly.
You know, I always say you never know how much one business card is worth. You never know how much one yard sign is worth. You never know how much one Google ad is worth. You know, I've had guys that literally given out a business card, and from that business card, it went to the right person, and then he's referred $200,000-$300,000 worth of business. Or it could be off that one Google ad that we closed, and now that ad has turned into $500,000 because he owned a business. So we did his house, and now that we did his businesses and his friends' businesses and all of that. So you never know how much one business card is worth. You never know how much one yard sign is worth. You never know how much one Google ad is worth. But I'll tell you one thing, they're worth zero if we're not passing those out and doing a little bit, you know, doing those things.
Yeah, nothing is more costly than inaction. So something else I was also curious about. So obviously over the span of 5 years, you know, that's a lot of time, but in reality, it's really not. Going from zero to, you know, $1 million in 5-6 years. Like that's very impressive. What would you attribute your growth to?
The biggest thing was getting to our numbers and knowing our numbers. The first couple of years, I didn't know my numbers. I was flying off the seat. You know, I was pulling, you know, I was buying 100 yard signs here. I was buying 100 yard signs there. Once we figured out our numbers and figured out what our average ticket is and what was bringing it in, and most of our money was coming in through Google ads. And so before that, I was spending $200-$300 a month on Google ads. I wasn't really kicking it. And now this was when Google ads was a little bit cheaper, when my average cost of per click was $6 to $7 per click back then. And so once I figured that out, I started it at 1,000. Once we started adding trucks, I was at almost $1,000 per truck because I knew that was enough to keep that truck busy. Between the ads coming in, the referrals, the yard signs, all the other things would keep those trucks running. So that's how I was able to get up to 4 trucks running every day.
Yeah. Just the other day, I probably had the worst case of this I think I've had in, you know, all the years I've been doing this, where someone came to me and said, oh yeah, last year I did about, you know, $90,000 in revenue for the year. But when I went to check my QuickBooks, like it said I lost money. Like I was basically breaking even. And I was like, how's that even possible? He's like, I was working with this marketing company for the entire year, and I didn't really know how much I was spending. Like I know I was paying them, it was like $900 or something a month, but I didn't know how much was on top of that. So then when I look back at it at the end of the year, I realized like I basically didn't make any money this year. And I was shocked. It's so important to know your numbers, because this was a year not wasted. Obviously, he learned, he got customers. Hopefully he retains them, gets a lot out of it, but it could have probably been done so much better. And he would have realized so much quicker that he was burning through money. So every client that comes in, we look at their numbers, and if they don't know their numbers, we help them, you know, look at it more efficiently, because we want to be fully transparent. Like if we're not making them money, they shouldn't be putting money towards it. If something else they're doing isn't making them money, they're losing money, they should not be doing that, and they should be switching up their efforts.
Well, and that goes back to, right, what is your bottom line? It's not about the top line. Whether you're doing $90,000 or you did $1 million and you didn't break nothing even, you know, and that's the important part of knowing your numbers. You know, a lot of people don't understand profit. A lot of people think that, you know, well, I made good money this year. I made $50,000-$60,000 personally, but you didn't figure out that you have to pay a technician to be able to make that. You've an admin, all of these other costs, right? So profit is what you would pay all those, and then what's underneath there. And that line is the most important line. If you can get that up to 30-40%, that's where it's about. And I'm all about reading books now, and no, I don't actually read them, I listen to them. And this is something that I try to teach a lot of people, is go read books, right? And this book would be Profit First. Profit First. If you don't understand this, go read Profit First. You'll get a lot better understanding in running your business, and you will grow so much faster. Profit First, and then the next one, kind of talking about the same thing, and it's made by the same owner, is the pumpkin plan, right? Getting rid of the jobs that aren't making us money, and what do we need to do to make money?
You said the pumpkin plan?
The pumpkin plan. Yeah, it's also written by Michael Kalwazinski or whatever his name is. So
okay, I haven't heard of that one. I've heard of Profit First, didn't get a chance to read it yet, but I'm a big proponent of investing in your education. So people come to the business because they did pressure washing, they did an amazing service, but they don't actually know how to start a business. So then once they throw themselves into it, they realize there's all these moving parts, all these components to it, and they don't have that business mentality or experience to run a business. So I say, like, read books or listen to books. I prefer to read, but to each their own. But watch videos, invest in coaches, and just go out and fail, and you'll learn a ton from that.
Number one investment you can do is invest in yourself. Keep learning. Never think you know it all, because I still learn, right? I'm still going to classes. I'm going to a mastermind / class in a couple of weeks. Why? Because I'm still learning, and I don't know it all, right? I want to get to way higher than I am. When you're trying to grow, there's things that you need to do. First off, the 5 people you're around, you need to be at the bottom of them. If you're at the top of it, then you need to find 5 new friends. These are things that you can do for a growth mindset, so that way you can keep going. Always failing, right? Always failing and figuring out and making it happen. As a pressure washer, and back to what you said as being kind of about the business, pressure washing, that's the easy job. That's literally a $15, $20 an hour task. You can pay somebody $15, $20 an hour. The person that's running the business and owning it, that's $100,000 task. That's a $50 an hour task, right? So we need to work on the $50 an hour task and not the $10 an hour task.
For sure. Well, I know we're kind of getting crunched for time here. I just want to ask, I guess, if you could leave someone who was in those early stages where you just got your equipment, you're on a very small scale before things picked up for you, if you could give someone in that position a piece of advice, what would it be?
Yard signs are money makers, man. I've seen people make hundreds of thousands of dollars off of yard signs. And then if you don't even have the $300-400 to go buy yard signs, then the next option is go on Facebook. And if you only got 50 friends, that's not going to get you a whole lot. You got to get to 5,000, and they're all local people, and you got to be on there all the time posting and doing it. I've got people doing $1 million off of Facebook, but it's not because they only post once a week. It's because they're posting 8-9 times a day, and that's how they've gotten their business to grow that far.
Yeah, especially in the early stages while you're not out working all day, assuming you're on your own and you have that time. Yard signs, one, will work even without you, going out every single day. But door knocking, obviously, it's going to take up some of your time. And then also posting in local Facebook groups, just posting organically on Facebook. Those are huge methods for getting those first few customers in the very beginning, which you can even scale and automate to a certain extent. So once you don't have that time to put into like posting in Facebook groups and stuff, you can hire someone that will do that for you. And the ROI will still be amazing because they're doing that full time. You're paying a few $100s per week, but they're bringing in multiple jobs. And then obviously the potential from those jobs to extend to even more, it's huge. So not only is it something you do in the very beginning, but you can scale it up to even when you're doing, a ton of work. It's something that should still be bringing you in a lot of jobs.
Like I always say, you either got time or money. So if you don't have no money, that means you got lots of time to get off the couch. And if you're sitting on the couch and thinking the phone's going to ring, I'm sorry to tell you, but the phone won't ring sitting on the couch. You have to take the time and go out there and knock on doors, put out signs, put out anything you can to tell all your friends and everybody they know of to get your information out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a great point to leave off on. Before we hop off for today, was there any last points you thought maybe would be helpful to go over?
Just take action, right? It doesn't matter if you're starting a pressure washing business, take action and you'll be surprised. You'll learn things. You might not even be in a business a year of pressure washing, but you might learn a skill that you can take and grow in other businesses. But if you don't take action, nothing happens.
Yeah, that I think if there's any one takeaway from today, it would be take action, because yes, you'll probably fail, but you should be looking to fail. You should be wanting to fail, because you're just going to get closer to that success. You're going to learn a lot from it. So I hope this was helpful to everyone that was watching today. Jason, where could people find you if they want to learn a bit more about you?
Kingofpressurewash.com is my one, or go find me anywhere on YouTube, Jason Geiman or King of Pressure Wash, Christmas Lights Help. Any of those will get me on either the YouTube or my website.
Awesome. Well, again, thanks for coming on today. It was super helpful, and I know a ton of people are going to get a lot of value out of today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me on.